to the Thrive Show. My name is Kim O'Neill, and today I have with me here Lynne Brisdon. Lynne is an ICF Master Certified Coach with over 20 years experience coaching organizational leaders to thrive while building their capacity to define strategy, manage change, and develop collaborative teams. She believes that real changes are made only by addressing the situation at the level of belief and conscious choice. And today is going to talk to us about approaching the practical aspects of life from an energetic perspective. Welcome, Lynne.
Thanks, Kim. It's delightful to be here with you.
I'm excited for our conversation because I love how you were combining the practical with the energetic aspects of our experience as well. So I want to get right into it. For organizational leaders of all kinds, the presence they have plays a large role in how they are received and perceived by others. And I want to ask you, how does a leader's presence help them in creating their own reality, the reality that they desire to experience?
Well, first of all, let's talk about energetic presence.
Sure.
When I say that, I mean, it's the field of energy that we inhabit. In fact, it is what we can refer to as our consciousness. And it's not just located in here, it's all around us. Some of us talk about that as an aura. And you know, when you've walked into a room or in presence of somebody who has an aura or an energetic field that's really inviting and engaging, you feel different than if you connect or are in presence with somebody who's maybe got something going on that's affecting that field. When I learned about all this, it was in the realm of metaphysics and spiritual development. Now we have neuroscience that's talking about how the heart has a frequency that emanates, depending on the emotions that we're experiencing. We're putting out a vibe, if you will, of what our emotional frequency is. And so if you're in the presence of someone who's having a bad day, you know it. Mm-hmm. In fact, there's evidence that says that in 0.07 seconds, we pick up on the emotional field that somebody else is operating from. So with a leader, you want to have a real conscious awareness of, what am I putting out today? What's the field that I'm in today, and how is that impacting and affecting other people? And so if I can be a choice with how that is, how I'm doing with that, then it's going to have a huge influence on my relationships with other people.
Thank you for sharing about how a leader's presence does help them create their reality and their connections to other people and their relationships. I love that you started us off with that piece. That's wonderful.
To speak more to that is that if I become aware that the emotional state that I have is maybe not the way I'd like it to be, if I want to have a more positive framework to be connecting with somebody else in, then I would want to take some time within myself to get in touch with what am I feeling, what do I need to sort out for myself, and how can I shift my emotional state to something more uplifting, perhaps grateful, change the way I'm seeing things, look at a broader perspective so that I can be more open and inviting in the relationships that I'm having. And then I'm going to go back to just say, and that the kinds of interrelationships that I have can start to shift the reality that I'm experiencing as well, certainly with that other person, and then can have an impact on what happens and the situations that play out.
And you believe that energetic well-being is the precursor to physical and mental wellness. Will you tell us more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So when I learned all this, we were working with a healing methodology that focuses on the 7 major chakras and an energy flow through the body. And if you think of, the Chinese medicine, the qi flow and everything, and when I say flow, the energy is always moving. It's in flow. And when things get blocked and it stops, that's when we experience dis-ease, unwellness, even pain. So what we want to keep a focus on is having things moving. And we can do that consciously on our own. We can just kind of check in and tuning into the deeper level of sensation. And maybe we feel it, maybe we don't. It just kind of intend that, say, the energy is flowing through my leg and flowing down my grounding and flowing through my chakra. And that is going to really support me in having an overall state of energetic wellness. And from that, there's going to be physical wellness attributes that go along. And so, and if I've got something that I'm experiencing as an illness or a pain or an ache, I can attend to the energy flow through that space and shift that. I might need some help on that, but that's generally how it works.
Well, I can definitely see how that would help a leader with their presence as well, by taking that time to tune in to what's going on within them, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and you talk about there being two primary ways a person can release their energetic blocks. We've started to already talk about that. I just wanted to define that a little bit more. You mentioned that it's energy healing and examining beliefs. Would you like to say anything more about those two specific elements?
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I did just start to say, the energy healing piece, and talking about how we can do that for ourselves, or we can work with a practitioner and to direct the flow of energy. Sometimes working with somebody else can help us they might be able to see things or attend to things that are kind of beyond our perception at any given time. And there are a number of methodologies available. There's energy healing, there's EFT, there's EMDR. I mean, there's the whole litany of practices that we can make available to ourselves. And then when we look at it from the conversational practice of coaching, as we dig into what's going on for somebody, we can start to uncover the beliefs that are driving the thoughts and the responses that they're having. And when we can get to that core level belief, we can then say, how true is that really? Is it always that way? Maybe that's the way I've just always thought it would be because of something that happened back there. And yet there are other opportunities to see it differently. And we can look at, does this serve me? And then what would it take to let that go? And along with that, then, there may be some visceral or feeling-based sensations that get attached to that belief. And we can come to a different experience with that as well. Sometimes things just need to be attended to be completed and resolved to move on. And, things will just keep coming up and keep coming up until we do that.
Right.
And I think you've probably experienced that yourself.
I do. Absolutely. Yes, for sure. Well, that's a subject we could go so much deeper into, for sure.
Yeah.
So will you explain why all healing is self-healing?
Yeah. Okay. So even if I'm working with a practitioner and they're supporting me and facilitating that process, and I'll speak to energy healing here. As the healer is working with a different part of any part of my body or my energy field, they may come upon something that has the potential to be released that I could let go of, but ultimately that choice is mine. I as the healee need to be in agreement that I'm ready to move on and let that go. So it's a very empowering perspective in that I don't need, or I'm not dependent on that healer to guide this process. I can do it for myself, and yet there's a real potency in that power of agreement when the healer and the healee are working together, and the intent, that combined intent, really magnifies that capacity for us to move on and to release.
Awesome. And we're coming to the close of today's conversation, but I know that you have an exercise our audience can do to really support their energetic presence. Will you share that with us?
I would absolutely do that. I'd love to. So I'm going to invite us to close our eyes. And when we close our eyes, we can just take our focus inward. And with the focus inward, you can just do a little bit of a scan and get a sense for what's happening with your energy. And some of us feel it more than others. And even if you don't feel it, you can just sort of intend that there's an energetic flow predominantly downward through your body and the space around you. And we want to give that energy flow a grounding. Like any energy circuit, it needs to go somewhere. So we imagine that there's a grounding cord, if you will, column of energy that goes from our bodies all the way down through the floor or the ground that is below you, all the way down to the center of the planet. And we can let go of or release any energy or frequency that's not serving us in this moment down that grounding to be neutralized. And when it's neutralized, it's released and it won't cause anyone else any disruption. That's grounding. And then we can go into being centered. And when I talk about being centered, it's being centered in the center of your head, which is associated with sixth chakra clear seeing. This is the point where we can observe ourselves, our energy, and situations we're in. And just think of being, having your focus on a point that's between your ears and behind your eyes, right in the middle of your head. And as you do that, if you notice that there's anyone or anything, a situation that's inhabiting that space inside your head that is not serving you right now and doesn't belong there, you can simply ask it to leave, him or her. Because the center of your head is your own personal energetic sanctuary. This is where you get to be with your own presence and consciousness and at choice about what's happening in your energy field. And as you're doing this, you can also be aware of bringing yourself right into the present moment. Just notice if there's any thoughts that come up that take you into the future, anticipating what is about to happen or is going to happen in a few weeks, or thoughts that take you into the past. And just bring yourself right back into the present moment. And some of the ways that we can do that are to be aware of the physical sensations that we're feeling with our body. You can notice how your feet feel on the ground or your back against your chair. You can notice the sounds around you. It's really tuning into your senses. Notice how your breath flows in and out of your body. And then just notice how you might feel different now, having spent a few moments to be grounded, centered, and in present time. And from here, make a conscious choice about how you would like to be as you come out of this exercise and how you attend to the rest of your day.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for walking us through that. That was wonderful.
You're welcome.
And Lynn, that concludes our Thrive show for today. So I want to thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom and expertise with us. It's been wonderful to hear from you today.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share what I have with you and your audience.
Absolutely. And to our audience, thank you for being here today. We hope that you found value in today's conversation.